In the smoldering ruins of the Valaxi outpost on Moon LV-728, Nari dragged her wounded body through the wreckage. Blue blood seeped from multiple wounds, leaving a trail behind her as she struggled to reach the emergency shelter. The rest of her scouting party was dead, victims of the ruthless Dracorian raid that had struck without warning. Nari was the youngest daughter of a prominent Valaxi military family, but her status meant nothing now. As her consciousness faded, she thought bitterly about how the Galactic Council's promises of protection had proven worthless. The attack had come during the quiet hours. The moon's 3 suns had just begun their descent, casting long shadows across the research outpost. Nari had been analyzing soil samples when the first blast rocked the compound. The explosion threw her against the wall, her exoskeleton cracking from the impact. She had barely managed to grab her emergency pack before the second wave hit. The Dracorians were known for their efficiency. Tall, scaled warriors who left no survivors. Their raids were quick and brutal, designed to eliminate all resistance before reinforcements could arrive. Nari had watched in horror as they cut down senior researcher Ta, his pleas for mercy ignored as the Dracorian commander stepped over his body. Nari had hidden beneath a fallen support beam, her breathing shallow as the raiders moved through the compound. Her training as a military scout had kept her alive when others had fallen. When the sounds of destruction finally faded, she began her painful journey toward the emergency shelter. The outpost had been home to 23 Valaxi researchers and security personnel. Now, only silence remained. Bodies of her friends and colleagues lay scattered among the ruins. Jin, who had shared stories of his homeworld during mealtimes. Day, who had helped Nari adjust to life on the remote moon when she first arrived. All gone. Pain shot through Nari's left side as she pulled herself forward. One of her 4 arms hung useless, nearly severed at what humans would call the elbow. The blue blood that flowed through Valaxi veins now stained the moon's gray soil. Each movement was agony, but the emergency shelter promised medical supplies and a stronger beacon to call for help. The Valaxi were not a warlike species. Their thin bodies and delicate limbs were designed for precision work, not combat. Their compound eyes allowed them to see in multiple directions at once, making them excellent researchers and scientists. But against the Dracorians, these advantages meant nothing. Nari's vision blurred as she reached the half-buried entrance to the shelter. With her remaining strength, she punched in the access code. The door hissed open, revealing the small room beyond. Inside were supplies meant to keep a full team alive for 3 days. For Nari alone, it might stretch to a week, if her wounds didn't kill her first. She crawled inside and sealed the door behind her. The shelter's lights flickered on automatically, revealing the sterile white interior. Nari dragged herself to the medical cabinet and fumbled with the supplies. Her hand shook as she applied sealing gel to her worst wounds. The pain dulled slightly, but she knew the damage was too severe for the basic supplies available. Nari activated the emergency beacon next. Its soft beeping filled the small room, a steady rhythm that matched her slowing heartbeat. The beacon would send a distress signal, but who would respond? The Galactic Council had promised protection for all research outposts, but those promises had proven empty when the Dracorians attacked. As the pain medication took effect, Nari's thoughts drifted to her family. Her father, a decorated commander in the Valaxi Defense Force, had opposed her assignment to this remote outpost. Too dangerous, he had warned. Too far from help. Her mother had simply held Nari's face between her hands, touching her forehead in the traditional Valaxi blessing. Nari had been proud to prove them wrong, to show that she could succeed on her own merits rather than her family name. Now, as she lay dying on a forgotten moon, she wondered if her body would ever be found. Would her family ever know what happened to her? The shelter grew colder as the moon's night cycle began. Nari wrapped an emergency blanket around her trembling body. The Valaxi were not built for cold. Their home world was warm and humid, with dense jungles that stretched across most of its surface. This barren moon, with its stark temperature changes, had always been uncomfortable. Now it felt hostile. Hours passed. The beacon continued its steady signal, but no response came. Nari drifted in and out of consciousness. In her more lucid moments, she recorded messages on her personal device. Final thoughts, goodbyes to her family, observations about what had happened. Someone should know the truth, even if she didn't survive to tell it. As the third day in the shelter began, Nari's hope faded. Her wounds had stopped bleeding, but infection had set in. The shelter's medical supplies included antibiotics, but they weren't strong enough to fight whatever was now spreading through her system. Her skin, normally a pale green, had taken on a sickly gray tone. The shelter's systems warned of low power. Soon, the life support would fail. Nari couldn't summon the energy to care. She had done everything possible to survive, but now it seemed the universe had other plans. On the fourth day, as Nari's consciousness began to fade permanently, the shelter's sensors detected movement outside. Probably scavengers, she thought. The Dracorians sometimes returned to pick through the remains of their destruction. But the footsteps sounded different. Lighter, more cautious. Not the heavy tread of Dracorian boots. Nari tried to reach for a weapon, but her arms wouldn't respond to her commands. The shelter door's override sequence activated. Someone was coming in. Nari closed her eyes, too weak to fight whatever came next. The door slid open. Light flooded the darkened shelter. Through blurry vision, Nari saw a figure step inside. Not Dracorian, not Valaxi. Something different. Human. Staff Sergeant Jun had been part of the human reconnaissance team sent to investigate the distress signal. Humans were relative newcomers to the galactic stage, still establishing their place among the older species. When Jun found Nari, the alien was barely clinging to life. Despite warnings from his squad about potential diplomatic complications, Jun couldn't leave the wounded Valaxi to die. Against regulations, he administered emergency medical care and called for immediate extraction. The human medical ship wasn't properly equipped for Valaxi physiology, but Jun stayed by Nari's side as the doctors worked. The distress beacon had been weak, barely registering on the long-range scanners of the human patrol ship Horizon. Captain Minho had almost dismissed it as background noise, but Jun had insisted they investigate. Something about the pattern seemed deliberate, not random space debris or solar interference. "Sir, that's a Valaxi emergency code," Jun had said, recognizing the signal pattern from his training. The Valaxi were one of the few alien species that had welcomed humans into the galactic community without suspicion. The landing team consisted of 5 soldiers: Jun, Hana, Ta, Duri, and Suo. As they approached the moon's surface in their shuttle, the devastation below became clear. The outpost was nothing but smoking ruins, blackened craters where buildings had once stood. "Dracorians," Hana said grimly, examining the blast patterns through the shuttle window. "No one else destroys so completely." Jun nodded. "Search for survivors, but stay alert. They might still be here." The team moved through the wreckage with practiced efficiency. The air was thin but breathable, with a metallic taste that made Jun's throat dry. The gravity was lighter than Earth's, making each step feel slightly awkward. "No life signs on scanners," Tay reported after 10 minutes. "Whatever happened here, we're too late." But Jun wasn't convinced. He had seen too many battlefields to trust technology alone. Sometimes survival came down to luck and determination. He split from the group, following what looked like a trail of blue fluid, Valaxi blood. The trail led to a half-buried structure at the edge of the compound. The door was sealed, but Jun could see it had been accessed recently. He called in his position to the team and approached carefully. Using the universal override codes provided to human military forces, Jun activated the door mechanism. It slid open with a hiss, revealing darkness inside. His helmet lights illuminated the space, an emergency shelter, small but well-stocked. And there, curled in the corner, was a Valaxi. Jun approached slowly. The alien was in bad shape. One arm was nearly severed, and patches of infection spread across its normally green skin. Its compound eyes were dull, barely reflecting the light from June's helmet. "I found a survivor," June called into his comm. "Female Valaxi, critical condition." Suo's voice came back immediately. "Leave it, Sergeant. We don't have authorization to interact with wounded aliens. The diplomatic protocols." "With respect," June interrupted, already pulling medical supplies from his pack. "She'll die before we get permission." He knelt beside the wounded alien. His military training had included basic first aid for the major galactic species. Valaxi were susceptible to infection, but responded well to human antibiotics. Their blood contained copper instead of iron, giving it its blue color. June administered a broad-spectrum antibiotic shot and applied synthetic skin to the worst wounds. The Valaxi stirred slightly, her eyes focusing on him briefly before closing again. "Sergeant June, I'm ordering you to stand down," came Captain Minho's voice over the comm. "The mission parameters do not include medical intervention." June continued working. "Sir, with respect, we can't just let her die." The Valaxi government could see this as interference. "We could create an incident, or we could save a life," June replied. "Isn't that why we came out here? To make a difference?" There was a long pause before the captain responded. "Fine, but you're taking responsibility for this, Sergeant. Full documentation, and if there are consequences, they're on you." "Understood, sir." June carefully lifted the Valaxi female. She weighed less than he expected, her body frail from days without proper care. The team converged on his location, and together they carried her back to the shuttle. During the flight back to the horizon, June monitored her vital signs. Valaxi physiology was different from human. 3-chambered heart, copper-based blood, different body temperature. But the principles were the same. Keep the blood flowing. Fight infection. Maintain hydration. The horizon wasn't equipped with a proper alien medical bay. Humans had only been part of the galactic community for 15 years, and most ships still catered primarily to human needs. The medical officer, Dr. G, looked alarmed when they brought the wounded Valaxi into her sick bay. "I'm not trained for xenomedicine," she protested. "Just do your best," June said. "We've got the basic Valaxi medical files in the database." For the next 12 hours, June didn't leave the sick bay. He helped Dr. G reference the Valaxi anatomical guides, assisted with emergency surgery to repair the damaged arm, and administered fluids adapted for Valaxi biology. Captain Minho came down twice to check on progress and remind June about the documentation requirements. "The Council will want to know why we interfered," the captain said. "And the Valaxi government might have questions too." "I'll handle it," June promised, but I couldn't leave her there. As the horizon changed course to rendezvous with the nearest Galactic Council station, June sat beside the alien's bed. He had served in Earth's military for 10 years, including 5 in space. He had seen conflict on 3 worlds and helped evacuate civilians from disaster zones. But this felt different, more personal. The Valaxi began to stir late in the ship's night cycle. June, who had dozed off in his chair, woke instantly. The alien's compound eyes focused on him, confusion evident even across species. "You're safe," June said, activating his translator. "I'm Staff Sergeant June of the Earth Expeditionary Forces. We found your distress signal." The Valaxi tried to speak, but her voice was weak. June offered her water through a straw, modified to accommodate Valaxi mouth structures. "My team," she finally managed. June shook his head gently. "I'm sorry. You were the only survivor we found." For a moment, the alien was silent. Then she asked the question June had been expecting. "Why would a human save me?" "You're safe," June told Nari, activating his translator. "I'm Staff Sergeant June of the Earth Expeditionary Forces." Nari's translator crackled with her weak response. "Why save an enemy?" "Enemy? We're not at war with the Valaxi." As Neri recovered, a fragile trust developed between the alien and the human. June learned that misinformation about humans had spread throughout Valaxi space, propaganda suggesting humans were secretly allied with the Dracorians. Neri tried to sit up in the medical bed, but fell back with a soft clicking sound, the Valaxi equivalent of a pain gasp. Her compound eyes darted around the small medical bay, taking in the unfamiliar surroundings. The human technology looked crude compared to Valaxi standards, all sharp edges and visible seams. "Where am I?" she asked, her translator converting her native clicks and whistles into human speech. "You're on the human patrol ship Horizon," Jun replied. He remained seated at a respectful distance, careful not to crowd the injured alien. "We're headed to Galactic Council Station 17 for proper medical assistance." Neri's antennae trembled, a sign of distress among her species. "You should have left me. There will be consequences for this interference." Jun raised an eyebrow. "Interference?" "We responded to a distress beacon. That's standard procedure across all species in Council space. Not when it comes to humans helping Valaxi." Neri's voice was stronger now, tinged with bitterness. "Your kind has chosen its allegiances." Jun leaned forward, confusion evident on his face. "What allegiances?" "Earth has formal diplomatic relations with the Valaxi Confederation. We've had trade agreements for nearly a decade." Neri made a sound that the translator couldn't quite capture, somewhere between a laugh and a hiss. "Trade agreements that your people ignore. Human weapons killed my team." This revelation stunned Jun into silence. He had seen the destruction at the outpost, recognized the Dracorian attack patterns. But human weapons? That didn't make sense. "That's impossible," he finally said. "Earth has strict export controls on military technology. We don't sell weapons to the Dracorians. They're not even part of the Galactic Council." "I know what I saw," Neri insisted. "The energy signature was unmistakable. Human pulse rifles. The same type your Earth Defense Force uses." Dr. Jai entered the medical bay, interrupting their conversation. She checked Neri's vitals on the monitor and seemed pleased with what she saw. "Your patient is recovering well, Sergeant," she told Jun. "The infection is responding to treatment. With proper care at Station 17, she should make a complete recovery." After the doctor left, an uncomfortable silence filled the room. Jun processed what Neri had told him. If human weapons had indeed been used in the attack, it represented a serious breach of Earth's treaties, possibly even treason by whoever had supplied them. "I believe that you saw what appeared to be human weapons," Jun finally said. "But there must be another explanation. Maybe they were copies or stolen." Neri turned her face away. "Believe what you want, human. I know what I saw." For the next 3 days, Jun visited Neri regularly, bringing her food adapted for Valaxi dietary needs and updates on their journey to Station 17. Each conversation was tense at first, but slowly, Neri began to drop her guard. On the 4th day, Jun brought something special to the medical bay, a data pad with images of Earth. "I thought you might be curious," he explained, setting it beside her bed. "Most non-humans never get to see our home world." Neri hesitated before picking up the pad. Her fingers, more delicate than human hands, moved gracefully across the screen as she flipped through pictures of Earth's oceans, mountains, and cities. "It's very blue," she observed, "like my homeworld, but with less green." "Your world has more land mass?" Jun asked, genuinely interested. For the first time, Neri's posture relaxed slightly. "Yes. Valax has 3 small oceans and vast jungle continents. My family lives near the Eastern Sea, where the canopy trees grow tall enough to touch the clouds." This small exchange marked a turning point. Over the next few days, their conversations became less guarded. Jun shared stories of growing up in New Seoul, a floating city built after sea levels rose. Neri told him about Valaxi education, how young Valaxis spend their first 10 years in learning communities before choosing a specialization. Gradually, Jun pieced together a disturbing picture. For the past year, Velaxi colonies and outposts had suffered attacks that appeared to involve human technology. The Velaxi government had filed complaints with the Galactic Council, but Earth representatives had denied all knowledge or involvement. Our leaders showed us evidence, Neri explained. Weapon fragments with human manufacturing codes, communication intercepts suggesting human mercenaries working with Dracorian raid parties. That's not possible, June insisted. Earth would never allow that. We've been trying to build trust with the Council races since first contact. Then someone is acting without your government's knowledge, Neri suggested. Or your leaders are lying to your people. Neither option was comforting. June promised to report Neri's information to his superiors once they reached Station 17. As they approached the station, Captain Minho called June to the bridge. His expression was grim. "We've received a message from Velaxi High Command," he said. "They're demanding we turn over the survivor immediately upon docking. They claim jurisdiction over all Velaxi citizens in this sector." "She needs proper medical care first," June argued. "They're insisting," the captain replied. "And there's more. They specifically mentioned you by name, Sergeant. They want to question you about your interference with their operative." "Operative?" June repeated, surprised. "She's a researcher." The captain shrugged. "That's what they're claiming. And they don't seem happy about her rescue." June returned to the medical bay, troubled by this new information. Was Neri more than a simple researcher? And why would the Velaxi government be upset about her rescue? When he entered, he found Neri standing for the first time since her rescue, looking out the small viewport at the approaching station. "My people have demanded my return," she said without turning around. "How did you know that?" Now she turned, her compound eyes reflecting the starlight. "Because I expected it. I know too much, June. About the attacks. About the weapons. About who might really be behind them." "And who is that?" June asked quietly. "I'm not sure yet, but I don't think it's humans." She moved closer to him. "And I don't think my government wants me sharing that theory with anyone." The attack on the Velaxi outpost threatened to spark a wider conflict. Human diplomatic channels buzzed with accusations and counter-accusations. "She's not a package to be delivered," June argued. "She's a witness to something bigger than all of us." Neri's testimony revealed a disturbing pattern. The weapons used in the attack bore manufacturing signatures that appeared human, yet contained technological elements impossible for Earth's current capabilities. Together, June and Neri uncovered evidence of a third party manipulating both species. Station 17 loomed large outside the horizon's viewport. The massive space station served as a neutral meeting ground for the various species of the Galactic Council. Its central hub was surrounded by 5 extending arms, each designed to accommodate the environmental needs of different alien physiologies. Captain Minho stood with June and Neri in the ship's conference room. His face was grim as he read the latest communication from Earth Command. "They want us to hand over Neri to the Velaxi authorities immediately," he said. "No questions asked." June shook his head firmly. "Sir, something isn't right. The Velaxi government is too eager to get her back." Neri's antennae twitched nervously. "My superiors will silence me if I return. The evidence I gathered at the outpost before the attack, it suggests that someone is trying to make it look like humans are helping the Dracorians." "That's a serious accusation," Captain Minho said. "Do you have proof?" Neri reached into a small pouch attached to her medical gown. She pulled out a data crystal, its surface glowing with a soft blue light. "This contains my analysis of weapon fragments from 3 different attacks on Velaxi outposts," she explained. "They all appear to be human-made at first glance, but the internal components use technology that humans haven't even developed yet." Captain Minho took the crystal, turning it over in his hand. "This could just be advanced Earth tech that isn't public knowledge." "No," Jun said firmly. "I've served in the Earth Defense Force for 12 years. If we had technology this advanced, we would be using it ourselves, not selling it to raiders." The captain sighed heavily. What are you suggesting we do? Defy direct orders from Earth Command. Request a meeting with both human and Valaxi representatives, Jun said. Here, on neutral ground, we need to share this information with both sides at once. After a moment of consideration, Captain Minho nodded. I'll make the request, but I can't promise anything. 2 hours later, in a secure conference room on Station 17, Jun and Neri waited nervously. Captain Minho had arranged the meeting, but even he looked surprised when the door slid open to reveal Ambassador Lee from Earth and High Commander Terry from the Valaxi Confederation. This had better be important, Ambassador Lee said, her voice cool. We were in the middle of trying to prevent a diplomatic crisis. High Commander Terry clicked his mandibles in agreement. His tall, slender form towered over the humans in the room. Indeed, the Valaxi people demand answers about human involvement in the attacks on our outposts. Neri stepped forward, her posture straightening despite her still healing wounds. With respect, High Commander, you're asking the wrong questions. The Valaxi leader's compound eyes focused on Neri. Researcher Neri, we believe you lost in the attack. Your family will be pleased to hear of your survival. They'll be even more pleased to hear the truth, Neri replied. She gestured to the data crystal that now sat in the center of the conference table. I've been analyzing the weapon fragments from the recent attacks. They appear human in origin, but they contain technology that doesn't match any known human development. Ambassador Lee frowned. What kind of technology? Jun activated the table's display system. The crystal's contents appeared as holographic images above the table, detailed scans of weapon fragments, energy signature readings, and comparison charts. These power cells, Jun pointed to one component. They're using a crystalline matrix that Earth scientists have theorized about but haven't successfully created. And these targeting systems are at least 20 years ahead of our current capabilities. High Commander Terry leaned forward, his antennae extended in concentration. If humans didn't make these weapons, who did? Someone who wants our species to fight each other, Neri said simply. The attacks have been calculated to cause maximum diplomatic damage, always on Valaxi outposts near human trade routes, always with evidence left behind pointing to human involvement. Ambassador Lee's expression hardened. You're suggesting we're being manipulated. By whom? Jun pulled up another image, a strange symbol found etched into one of the weapon components. We don't know yet, but this marking doesn't match any known human or Valaxi manufacturer. The meeting continued for hours as they examined the evidence. Tensions ran high at times, with Ambassador Lee and High Commander Terry occasionally falling into heated arguments. But as the evidence mounted, even they couldn't deny the pattern emerging. We need a joint investigation, Jun finally suggested. Human and Valaxi teams working together. No secrets, no separate agendas. High Commander Terry clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. The Valaxi Council will not easily agree to this. There is much distrust. The same is true for Earth's leadership, Ambassador Lee admitted. But the alternative is continuing down a path toward potential conflict based on false information. As the meeting concluded, both representatives agreed to take the proposal back to their governments. It wasn't a guarantee, but it was a start. Later, as Jun and Neri waited in their temporary quarters on Station 17, a message arrived from Captain Minho. The Valaxi government had withdrawn their demand for Neri's immediate return. Instead, they were requesting that she join a special joint task force, with Jun as her human counterpart. They're actually listening, Neri said, her voice containing a note of surprise. Jun nodded. It's a start, but whoever is behind this, they won't stop just because we're onto them. If anything, we've made ourselves targets. I've been a target since I survived the attack, Neri replied. She looked at Jun with her compound eyes, the soft glow of the station lights reflecting in them. But now, at least, I'm not alone. The next day, as they prepared to meet with the newly formed Joint Task Force, reports came in of another attack. This time on a human mining colony near the border of Dracorian space. The pattern was the same, but reversed. Velaxi weapons signatures, but technology beyond their capabilities. They're escalating, Jum said grimly as he read the report, trying to push both sides toward conflict before we can expose them. Nari's antennae drew back against her head, a sign of determination in her species. Then we need to work faster. The truth is our only weapon now. 6 months later, Nari stood before the Galactic Council, flanked by June. The evidence they had gathered exposed the conspiracy and prevented a war that would have devastated multiple species. The human did not merely save my life, Nari told the assembled delegates. He taught me that true strength lies not in isolation or suspicion, but in the courage to trust those different from ourselves. The diplomatic fallout reshaped galactic politics. A formal alliance between humans and Velaxi was established, with Nari and June appointed as its first joint ambassadors. Nari's most popular post on Galactic Reddit ended with words that would eventually be inscribed on monuments throughout human and Velaxi space. I had lost all hope until a human soldier saved me. In doing so, we may have saved each other's civilizations. The great council chamber was silent as Nari finished speaking. The vast, circular room housed representatives from 27 different species, each seated according to their environmental needs. Some breathed methane, others required higher gravity, and a few even floated in special tanks filled with liquid. Despite their differences, all eyes were fixed on the small Velaxi female and the human soldier who stood beside her. The past 6 months had been dangerous. June and Nari had followed a trail of evidence across 12 star systems. They had infiltrated hidden bases, decoded encrypted messages, and narrowly escaped death more times than either cared to count. Their investigation had revealed a shocking truth. A secret faction within the Raxan Imperium, a reclusive species known for their advanced technology, had been orchestrating attacks on both human and Velaxi targets. Their goal was simple but devastating: to trigger a war between humans and Velaxi that would weaken both species, allowing the Raxans to expand their territory without resistance. June stepped forward now, his black uniform bearing the new insignia of the Joint Security Force. A human hand and Velaxi claw joined together. "The evidence is undeniable," he said, his voice carrying through the chamber's perfect acoustics. "We have recovered manufacturing records, communication logs, and direct testimony from captured Raxan operatives." On the massive display screen behind them, images appeared showing Raxan facilities where fake human and Velaxi weapons were produced. Video testimony played from a captured Raxan commander who admitted to the plot. The Raxan ambassador, a tall figure with metallic blue skin, rose from his seat. "These accusations are baseless. This is clearly a fabrication by humans and Velaxi to justify their own aggressive actions toward the Imperium." "Is this a fabrication as well?" Nari asked quietly. She activated a small device on her wrist. The chamber's lights dimmed, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed a secret meeting between the Raxan ambassador himself and Dracorian raid leaders, planning the next wave of attacks on Velaxi colonies. The date stamp showed it was recorded just 2 weeks earlier. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The Raxan ambassador's skin changed color rapidly, a sign of extreme stress in his species. This cannot," he stammered. The head counselor, an ancient meridian whose transparent skin revealed the slow pulse of its 3 hearts, raised a hand for silence. "We have heard enough," the counselor announced. "The evidence presented by joint ambassadors Nari and June is compelling. This council will vote immediately on sanctions against the Raxan Imperium and reparations for both human and Velaxi losses." The vote was unanimous, with even the Raxan ambassador abstaining rather than voting against. As the council session ended, representatives from dozens of species approached June and Nari, offering congratulations and support. "You have done more than expose a conspiracy," the Velaxi Prime Minister told them. "You have shown us a new path forward." Later that evening, June and Nari stood on a balcony overlooking the council city. The 3 moons of Galactic Prime cast a silver light on the diverse architecture below, where buildings designed for different species stood side by side in harmony. 6 months ago, I was dying in that shelter, convinced that humans were my enemy, Nari said softly. I never imagined I would be standing here now. June smiled. I just followed my orders to investigate a distress signal. I never thought it would lead to all this. It almost didn't, Nari reminded him. If you had followed regulations and left me there. Some rules need to be broken, June replied, especially when lives are at stake. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime from Nari's communication device. She checked it and laughed, a sound that had become more familiar to June over their months working together. What is it? He asked. My post on Galactic Reddit just reached 1 million upvotes, she said. Apparently, our story has gone viral across all species networks. June looked curious. What exactly did you write? Nari showed him the screen, where her simple message had sparked thousands of comments and shares. I had lost all hope until a human soldier saved me. In doing so, we may have saved each other's civilizations. 2 weeks later, the new joint embassy opened on neutral ground between human and Velaxi space. The building was designed to accommodate both species comfortably, with sections adapted for each physiology, but plenty of shared spaces where they could work together. Nari and June stood at the entrance as the ceremonial ribbon was cut, a human tradition that the Velaxi had embraced with enthusiasm. Crowds from both species cheered as the doors officially opened. Inside, their first task awaited, training the initial group of joint diplomatic teams who would spread throughout the galaxy, strengthening the new alliance and watching for any signs of similar manipulation attempts. Do you think it will last? June asked quietly as they watched human and Velaxi diplomats mingling in the reception hall. This alliance. Nari's antennae moved in the pattern that June had come to recognize as a smile. 6 months ago, I would have said no. But now, I believe it will not only last, it will grow stronger. As night fell, messages poured in from across the galaxy congratulating them on the embassy's opening. But the one that meant the most came from an unexpected source. A joint letter from June's parents on Earth and Nari's family on Velax, announcing that they would be visiting the embassy together the following month. Families meeting, June said, surprised. That's a big step. A necessary one, Nari replied. If we expect our civilizations to trust each other, we should start with those closest to us. 1 year to the day after June had found Nari dying in that shelter, a monument was unveiled in the central plaza of the Galactic Council headquarters. It depicted a human hand helping a Velaxi to stand, and at its base was inscribed Nari's now famous words. Representatives from 27 species attended the ceremony, but none were prouder than the human soldier and the Velaxi researcher who stood side by side at the front of the crowd. From enemies to allies, a reporter said, approaching them after the ceremony. What's next for your 2 species? Nari and June exchanged a glance before Nari answered. We were never truly enemies, she said. We were simply strangers who had not yet met properly. And as for what's next, she looked up at the stars visible through the station's transparent dome. Together, I believe we are ready to explore possibilities neither of us could have imagined alone.